Now if you come round a bit here, suddenly we're back in Essex, if you like. Probably not the best place to start with the description, but Essex is flat. Yorkshire is not flat. So it's really difficult for somebody who comes from a place with hills and everything to get used to this flatness. So down in Essex, it's not often, for me anyway, about looking at a nice big view either from the top of a hill looking down on it or from the bottom of the hill looking up. You're just always constantly looking through something, I think. So this is called Conquest of the Air. It's a colograph, which means it's underneath, it's actually a print, but it's a monoprint. It's absolutely impossible to make two the same, so in that way they're quite unique. And I don't know whether there's anybody out there old enough to remember an advert for Tide washing powder, which used to be on the television, and it was in black and white. And it was washing, blowing in the breeze, and the whites were so white it was untrue, because obviously they're trying to sell the washing powder. And I just, when I see this picture, I just think of that washing line. But Essex, or the part of Essex I come from as well, is really well known for its ballooning community. So we get hot air balloons a lot. And the Conquest of the Air, the title, is stolen or borrowed or just, well, whatever, stolen from a French artist called Dufresne, who made a painting called Conquest of the Air, where he had a biplane in it and balloons in it. And so really this is just an abstract response to the Essex countryside by somebody who comes from the northeast. And then this one, which is the same colograph plate, but introducing different colours and different collage elements. And this one is called the Dawn Chorus. Because Essex is very beautiful. It's just, it's taken me a while to get used to it. It's a decently romantic county, to be honest. English drawing, we're not going to dwell too much here because otherwise we're going back on ourselves, back to the seaside again. But I call this the English drawing because I just love English art. I've got this real passion for it. So there's elements in here which you could see belongs to maybe, let's say, Ben Nicholson or maybe even Victor Passmore or whatever. It's, stylistically and conceptually, it's just, for me, it's extremely English. What it's about, I'm not entirely sure, but we have waves and we have seabirds on the shore, and then what I think are actually ash keys. But these ash keys bring me nicely and neatly across here to another drawing, which is called The Crab. And you'll see my composition is not dissimilar, but the ash keys here are mussels. You know, so it's seafood. Hopefully you'll be able to see the crab shell. We tend to see crabs a lot when they're actually dead on the seashore, not live, so the shells are often a bit cracked up. So the claws of this crab are implied rather than drawn. You can almost sense that there are claws there, that maybe the muscles are there. And then of course we have the movement. Tides are very important obviously, and that's all caused by the movement of the sun. So again, it's quite a romantic picture. But there are elements in it which will turn up in other paintings. Again, we have, in Essex, still over here, this one is called Deciduous Tree and Coniferous Forest. Nothing more than a self-portrait, you know. All artists want to think that they're the odd one out, but I mean, we often do. So there we are, and a deciduous tree in the coniferous forest. Bit of a cheesy connection, but there you go. This one is a particularly interesting picture for me because this is right at the beginning of a very difficult time for me, and I went to work with Jamie, the title of the picture, who was trying to get into, into an art school in London, but a particularly good one. It's the name's come out of my head now. That very, very famous as a designer. And as I was working with him, it was in the middle of winter. It was horrible. And I looked out of the window from his house, and the hedge just outside was just lit up by this wonderful, wonderful little patch of sunlight. So I made the watercolour called Jamie's Hedge. I also made an oil painting, but happily I sold that. But that's a particularly important painting for me. And from Jamie's Hedge, we get again this idea of in Essex you have to look through something to see it. So this is called the Essex Farm in March, which is just supposed to be the end of winter, just the hint of the beginning of spring, coming through the catkins and so on. But you get beautiful farms here, really do, beautiful farm buildings, and you can just make out the farm building in the background, because often, you can't get any closer than that. You just see through a bit of tangled hedge or whatever. So that's what that's about. This is a picture that I often think people will have quite a bit of difficulty figuring out what it is, unless I tell them what it is. But,
You're not meant to do, remember? But we can do it on here.
Well, exactly. Well, not yet. So this is, part of the walks that Martin and I used to take during lockdown along the River Chelmer, which is the river close to where I live. And the River Chelmer was part of the British defences against possible Nazi invasion in 1940-41. And it's riddled with pillboxes, machine gun positions, all along the River Chelmer, where we walk. And, they're strangely beautiful considering what they're supposed to be. So I've stylised this one. And here we have the Chelmer, which, where we live, is not very wide, which is why we call it the Mighty Chelmer, because it's just for fun. But it's not very wide at all, often quite overgrown. But this is in the winter. And so we have that kind of the cold colours of winter. We don't get a lot of snow down here, but the cold colours of winter. And then the pale wintry sun coming through the willows. Now, I think if I haven't explained that to you, nobody would have ever got it. But there we are. And this is considerably easier to do. But again, we're looking through trees to the farm in the background. This is an Essex farm. It's actually in Felsted. I'm not going to name it because I don't want people who own the property to get upset. But there's a beautiful farm buildings at this particular farm, all made of wood, which, wooden barns, and just gorgeous. And here we have it lit up. The one thing that I haven't mentioned so far, which we get in Essex down here, these fabulous, fabulous light effects at certain times of the day. And particularly around October, November, when the sun's at a certain height in the sky, we get these amazing sunsets. Now, I'm not looking straight into the sun here, but they're absolutely amazing. It turns the whole world orange, except where the sun doesn't go, and it's just an amazing light. And here is where we're actually staring directly into the sun, the Essex sun. And this is very close to where I live, which is it's the border between Felsted and Flitch Green. And here is a little brook called the Stebbing Brook, which I called the Great Cultural Divide, rather arrogantly, until I actually moved to Flitch Green, and then I realised I was just being ridiculous. But you can look down at a certain time of day and you get these absolutely intense colours, absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing. I've painted this scene 3 times now, I think, and I'll probably paint it again and again, and I just love it. You get this incredible richness of light and stuff. you know, connected with this sunshine. So that, I think, happily, is pretty much it. And I just hope a sufficient number of people are going to come along and see the show. And I'll be here all the time that it's open if anybody wants any more of this verbal diarrhea in the faces. And it'll be just lovely to see you. It's my very, very first one-man show ever. Despite my young age, I've never had one before. And so that's why I've gone to all the trouble of making this film. Anyway, very nice. Thank you.